Hello, welcome back to Freddy in the Shed. I'm up in the Radio Shack and a Retevis PMR radio review. This will be the last one I think I'm going to do for a while. This model is the RB646. In just a moment, we'll have a closer look at the radio itself. I'll show you what you get in the box. We'll look at all of the features that the radio has. And then I'll take it outside and do a basic transmission test. Before we get into that, let's just go through the specs on this radio. UK spec radio here, PMR, perfectly legal, fixed antenna, 0.5 watt total output. Comes with a 3.7 volt 1150 mAh battery. Good for 12 hours, they say, with regular transmissions. Radio chassis is rated at IP67 waterproof. 16 standard PMR channels, but with 210 DCS and 50 CTSS codes. The RB646 fully supports non-programmable cloning. The idea being, if you buy a group of these radios, they will self-clone without the use of a computer. Very good if you're intended to use these for business. Useful features include a Vox function. This is voice activation. This can be switched on and off via the radio without the need to connect it to a PC. Also featured is a timeout function. This restricts the amount of time you can transmit on the radio to protect your battery life. This can be adjusted from 15 to 600 seconds. Radio does have a low battery alert. When the battery gets low, it will bleep at you every 30 seconds to remind you to swap out or charge the battery. In the box comes the radio itself, fixed antenna of course. Comes with a charging base, and to connect that we have a USB-C lead, has a wrist lanyard, and then finally a belt clip. A nice quality belt clip here. It's nice to see that it's got screws and it's got a metal spring there, very, very strong. Looks like that's going to last the test of time. This radio comes from the higher end of the Retevis PMR radios. Costs $35 or 28 UK pounds. Plus shipping. Reminds me very much of the radio I tested a while ago, and that was the RT648. Again, a very nice radio. Now this was very tough. I did throw this out of a window. I don't think Retevis were too impressed, and I dropped it into a bucket of water. It survived all those tests with flying colours. I'm not going to do the same to this 646, but to me, it feels of the same quality. Very nice, rugged casework. There's absolutely no playing it at all. It does, to me, appear like it would be able to take a decent drop. This is a relatively new radio for Retevis. I think it came out in July or August 2022. Now then, before we have a closer look at the radio and then we'll do some testing, let's just head off some of those comments that I know I'm going to get. Once we get over the £25 threshold, yeah, most of you radio guys are saying, Fred, well, why don't you just get a UV5R? It has more power, it has a display, it has a detachable antenna. And I get that, I totally get that, and I've got a few of these UV5Rs. They're great radios. These Retevis radios are aimed at a different market, mainly the business market, restaurants, things like that, or for anyone that doesn't want an illegal radio, that really needs a nice quality legal radio. And this is where this scores, of course, because it has a non-removable antenna and it's 0.5 of a watt. However, there is a FRS version of this radio available, and that transmits at 2 watts. So with the right software, which is normally Chirp in the UK, it is possible that once this radio is listed, and currently it's too new, it's not listed, but once it is listed, you can, with the appropriate programming cable, and I've got one here, this is available on Retevis website, costs about £5 or £6, I believe, has the Motorola connection there, not the Bofung Kenwood style. But once you get the programming cable and once the jailbreak software is available, there's no reason why you couldn't turn this up to 2 watts, and for all intents and purposes there's no way of knowing this is a higher powered radio. Stealth. Let's have a closer look at the radio in action. Very simple to operate, thankfully. On the top of the radio, 2 pots there, a volume and on and off. And then here is your channel selector mode. It is numbered around the outside. It's not all that clear, to be honest, but it is 1 to 16, but it does talk to you.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 2.
Pretty easy. Not much else on the top of the radio. There is an LED. It's a dual mode. Green for receive, amber for transmit. Moving on to the side of the radio, the push TT, push to talk button, has a very, very slight rubberized finish. Yeah, it feels quite nice, very precise, very clicky. Below that, there are 2 rubberized buttons. Both of these are dual function. The top button, a quick push, will tell you the remaining battery capacity.
Battery capacity remains 9, 7.
Hold it in, and then it breaks the squelch to monitor. It's one of those ones when you release your finger, it brings the squelch back on. I prefer the ones where you just push it and it breaks the squelch and then you push it again. But that maybe that's just me. Below that, a second button there, a short press. Puts the radio into scan mode. The LED flashes. That is now scanning the 16 channels. And then a long press sets off an SOS siren. Yeah, enough of that. Moving on to this side of the radio, just have a little port here for the Motorola style programming cable. Also allows you to connect a headset. Moving around the back, we have metal connections there for the belt clip that I have not fitted. We have the battery terminal, so when the battery charges in the base. Now the battery itself, it is removable. There we go. Nice size battery. That's useful if you're thinking of using this on business or perhaps a very long camping trip, because you can charge up a few of these in advance. Radio itself, nicely made actually. Metal chassis, which again, I feel it would take quite a big knock if you were to drop it. One good feature of these Retevis radios is out of the box, they're all pre-programmed to the same 16 PMR channels, and also the anti-interference stroke privacy channels are all the same. So likewise here we have this 648 radio, and straight away it's ready connected. Right, what I'm going to do now is we'll go out and we'll do some testing. Now, I've said this before, these PMR radios are short distance, point of sight type radios. It depends on your terrain as to what distance you're likely to get. If you're going to use these indoors, for example, in a business, you're probably going to be down to maybe 150, 200 meters, depending on the structure of your building. Outside, in a heavily built up area, which is where I live, I generally find these work fine up to about 500 to 600 meters. They can get a little bit patchy. I have tested these and I can just about get 1 kilometer between the two radios. If you move these out into the open, fields, farm, high ground, things like that, they reckon about 1.5 kilometers on half the watt, and I'd say that's probably about true. So here we are, this will do. It's about 250 to 270 meters from the QTH. I've just put a couple of rows of houses between the radios. As I say, these are not long distance devices. Going to transmit now back to the home base radio. Just looking for clear audio really, without any whistles, without any interference, what we would call QRM. Let's just see what I sound like. Yeah, audio check 1, 2, about 250 or so meters from the QTH.
Yeah, audio check 1, 2, about 250 or so meters from the QTH. Audio 1, 2, 1, 2, audio.
There we go. Let's go back and see if that's nice and clear. What are my final conclusions? Well, obviously with that 12-hour long life battery, it's aimed at the business end of the market, but I think it's got its place with radio guys. It's a nice quality radio. Perfectly UK legal as it ships 0.5 watt fixed antenna, but don't forget there is that FRS version which has the full power 2 watts, and I'm sure in time that Chirp will make the programming software that will work with this radio, and you could get yourself a stealth little 2 watt PMR radio that to any inspection would stand up as a legal a legal radio. If you're interested, buying links to the Retevis store for this radio are in the description. I would say it's safer to buy from the Retevis store. I haven't seen any Retevis clones or copies on the internet, unlike the Bofengs that are all over the place, but I would say definitely go to the Retevis store. As always, I'd just like to point out, I don't work for Retevis. I don't get paid to make this video. I'm not on any commission. If you buy a radio, yes, they send it in free of charge. I'm happy to do the review, but that's where it stops. I do hope this video has been informative and helpful. If you're thinking of getting one of these little PMR radios, there's the thumbs up from Fred in the Shed. I'd really appreciate it if you just take a moment and give me a thumbs up down below. Helps me, helps the channel. But just for me to say thanks for your view time. Please, please, please look after each other. Stay safe. Catch you on the next one.